The genealogy of Jesus the Messiah. From ancient whispers in the winds of time, a story begins, an intricate tapestry of lives connected across generations, culminating in the birth of one who would change the world forever. Long ago, in the land of promise, there was Abraham, a man whose faith burned brighter than the stars in the desert sky. Though his years weighed heavily on him and his wife Sarah, their hearts leapt with joy when their son Isaac was born. Isaac, their miracle, carried in his veins the strength of his father's covenant with God. Years later, Isaac became the father of Jacob, a man of tenacity and determination who wrestled with both angels and his own destiny. Jacob, fierce and tender, watched his sons grow into men, each with their own tales of triumphs and trials. Among them stood Judah, whose life would be marked by both shadow and light. It was through Judah and Tamar's lineage that Perez and Zerah were born, a continuation of a line that moved forward like a river, carving its way through history. Time passed, and generations rose and fell like the tides. Perez gave life to Hezron, Hezron to Ram, and Ram to Amminadab. In this great chain of fathers and sons, there came a leader named Nahshon, who walked boldly with courage. Nahshon's lineage led to Salmon, who carried the legacy of faith forward. Salmon, in a story of redemption and faith, became the father of Boaz through Rahab, a woman whose bravery and choice forever intertwined her life with God's unfolding plan. Boaz, kind-hearted and noble, became the father of Obed through Ruth, the loyal Moabite whose love and devotion transcended boundaries. Together, they brought into the world Jesse, whose sons grew tall and strong. From this line of shepherds rose David, the one who would become king, a man after God's own heart. In David, the story reached a crescendo of triumph and complexity. But David's journey carried both glory and sorrow. He was the father of Solomon, born through Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah. Solomon, wise beyond his years, rose to build a temple, a sanctuary of worship for God's people. Yet, even his reign was tinged with the humanity of frailty and error. The story does not pause, but marches forward through centuries. From Solomon came Rehoboam, Abijah, Asa, and then the noble Jehoshaphat. The lineage threaded on through Joram, Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, a king whose prayers could shake the heavens. In time, Hezekiah's descendants faced challenges, as Manasseh, Amon, and Josiah carried the line forward into moments of both exile and return. In the shadow of Babylonian captivity, the line did not falter. Jeconiah brought forth Shealtiel, and Shealtiel fathered Zerubbabel, a man who would play a key role in rebuilding and hope. And through this lineage of enduring faith and resilience came Eliud, Eleazar, Matthan, and Jacob. Jacob, simple yet steadfast, became the father of Joseph, the carpenter who would stand by Mary, a young woman chosen for a divine purpose. It was through Mary that the promise was fulfilled. Jesus, called the Messiah, was born, a light for the nations, the culmination of a lineage that spanned centuries. This is the story of how faith and perseverance wove together lives, creating a legacy that would forever illuminate the world. The generations, 14 from Abraham to David, 14 to the exile in Babylon, and 14 to the Messiah, tell a story of promise, redemption, and hope. A story that, though ancient, remains alive in the hearts of all who hear it. Conception and birth of Jesus. The quiet village of Nazareth was draped in the soft glow of twilight. Mary, a young woman of grace and quiet strength, was betrothed to Joseph, a carpenter known for his steady hands and righteous heart. Their union was a promise of hope and love in a world that often demanded resilience. But as they prepared for their life together, something astonishing unfolded. Mary was found to be with child, though she and Joseph had not yet come together. Joseph, a man deeply rooted in integrity and compassion, was struck by the news. His heart was torn. How could this be? What would people say? He loved Mary, but he couldn't see a way forward. To spare her disgrace, he wrestled with the decision to quietly end their engagement. That night, as Joseph sat in the flickering lamplight, sleep finally overcame him. And it was then, in the depth of his dreams, that the extraordinary occurred. An angel of the Lord appeared to him, a presence so luminous, so overwhelming, that it filled every corner of his heart with awe. "Joseph, son of David," the angel began, with a voice like the rolling thunder and the softest whisper combined. "Do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife. The child she carries is conceived by the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son, and you shall name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins." The angel's words washed over Joseph like a balm, calming the storm in his soul. The prophecy of old resounded in his mind. "Behold, the virgin shall be with child and shall bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel," which means, God with us. Could it be? Could this be the moment foretold by generations past, the fulfillment of promises that had echoed through the ages? When Joseph awoke, the dream lingered vividly in his mind, as if the angel had truly stood before him. With newfound clarity and conviction, he rose. The dawn was breaking, and so was his resolve. He went to Mary and stood by her side, honoring the angel's command. He took her as his wife, shielding her with his unwavering love and faith, yet honoring her purity until the child was born. And when the time came, as the stars gleamed brightly over the little town of Bethlehem, the world welcomed a child, a son named Jesus. In that moment, the light of hope entered a weary world, and the promise of redemption became a reality. This was no ordinary child. This was Emmanuel, God with us, and his story was only beginning.